Namo Buddhaya, Namo Ramaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Namah, Om Om. Okay, so my name is Santa, and I think I know nearly all of your names, but not everybody, and I'm sure that you all don't know everybody else's names. So let's begin with a little round of just going round, and if we could just say our name, that would be lovely to hear. So would you be up for starting with that? Giving the game away now.
Wait for it. That's the problem.
Kevananda.
Serena. Angelica. Dalshavani. Akshayapradipa.
Jeremy.
Dimaladeepa.
Shaki City.
Mitra.
Lalo Taraja.
Sumana. Sanganath. Amiyavasi.
Nisha.
Mokshayogin.
Rachel. Annie. Carolyn.
Laura.
Fantastic.
Should we include the people online as well?
Yes,
Do they
we
want
should.
to-
Yes. How's the best place to do it? I can
We
see them.
just asked them online. Could you
What do I
introduce
do?
yourself?
So, okay. So, Akshayapradipa, I can see there. Akshayapradipa, would you like to say something, please? I don't think people can see you waving. Could you say something? Unmute and just say something.
Hi everybody! Welcome everybody!
Thank you very much. And who else is there?
Duisaki, and I think
Zoom user. I don't know your name. Would you like to?
I'm Rena. Nice to meet everyone. Thanks for organising this online as well.
Hello, Mina. Welcome. And Yusaki, would you like to say something?
Hello everyone, good to be with you, and I'm in Sweden at the moment, so lovely to be able to connect with you all.
Great, okay. Right, so now I'm going to
Vajra Mitra is there as well. Vajra Mitra.
who has something to say about the significance of the day and beyond.
we should just send the microphone around.
Thank you, Sandra. So I think I've been asked to do this because I'm the chair of the centre. So in a way, this is the centre, the North London Buddhist Centre, welcoming 2 new order members. But it seems to me that welcoming is what a Buddhist centre should do anyway. So I just want to be very welcoming to everybody who's coming here and those online as well, and everyone who doesn't come here. I think there's a sense of welcome as being the initial impression I used to get from a Buddhist centre. So particularly somebody who's been through very significant change in their life, that is getting ordained, and is associated with our Sangha here. It's really fantastic to welcome them. Akshayapradipa and Mokshayogin. I'm not going to say anything about them. They're going to introduce themselves later on, I think. But I'll say a little bit about ordination. I was ordained in 1982. So on November the 1st, it had been my 40th anniversary. So we're going to have a little get together. The survivors from that particular ship are going to get together on November the 1st. Yeah. And so, like Mokshayogin and like Akshayapradipa, I went off on a long retreat. In my case, it was in Italy. And to have that sort of length of time where you are getting used to the idea of having, making a major commitment, making a major change in your life. That was fantastic to have that time. Not just because it was a long retreat, but because it was a long retreat with other people who were going through the same thing. And that was amazing to be able to do that. Everyone having their own individual, separate experiences, but also having the solidarity sense of having taken a leap together. And so the two main symbolic acts of the ordination process are called the private ordination and the public ordination. And there's quite a significance in those two acts. So for many years, both Akshayapradipa and Mokshayogin and others who get ordained have been practicing Buddhism, practicing meditation, engaging with the Dharma, engaging with the Buddha, with the teachings as well that are going to be helping them. And this has reached a point where it seems to them that this wants to be the focus of their life. The three jewels, the Buddha, the yellow or golden jewel, the Dharma, the blue jewel, and the Sangha community, the red jewel, want to be the focus. They want to be there at the center. And when that happens, one needs to ensure that one feels that connection with the Buddha, that one feels that one's found, to some extent, a path to join, a Buddhist path to join, and also that one's found a particular Buddhist Sangha that one feels will make that process of commitment work for you. And having found those things, one makes a request for ordination. And in different ways, this is true in all Buddhist traditions. There'll be that mark, that moment of going for refuge, of commitment, of saying, yes, this is now going to be at the center of my life. And so you say that, you make that sort of statement, and you make it in the presence of a preceptor. So a senior board member, someone who's already got a lot of depth and experience, but also who has a connection, a close connection with you, will be there with you and will say, yes, I can recognize that that wish to have the three jewels at the center of your life is something that is now genuine. It's something that is now, in a sense, complete. The process, of course, in a way is only just starting, but it's complete in the sense that, yes, it's not just, oh, yet occasionally it nudges its way into the center, but most of the time it is still disco dancing and sort of reading Mills and Boon novels and whatever else your hobbies happen to be. But no, those have been displaced. They may still be there as part of your mandala, as we say, but they're definitely no longer at the center. The other center is the three jewels. And the preceptor, the private preceptor, recognizes that and says, yes, I can see that. I acknowledge that. I witness it. And the strength that I had, I remember, can still remember it very, very clearly, going into a darkened, in my case, little shrine room and sitting opposite my preceptor and being affirmed and recognized in that way. It was an amazing thing to have that information. And it gave me the sense at the time, I remember, is now that my going for refuge, that is, now that the centrality of the three jewels in my life has been recognized, I can now stop being a Buddhist, I thought to myself. And I even thought that in a fairly literal sense. I thought I now feel, I was wrong actually, but I thought I now feel free, I now feel independent enough to be able just to go off and be a Buddhist and then just see what happens. And my fantasy at the time was to get on a flight to Australia, go to a place I knew nobody at all, and just be and see what happened. But then I thought it through and I thought, hang on a minute, what sort of life do I want to lead? And I remembered the third jewel, I remembered the Sangha jewel, I remembered the importance of connections. And I said, no, I want to stay in touch with my mentors, my teachers, and my friends, and my comrades and my colleagues. I want to stay in touch with those. I do genuinely feel free to go off and just be, but actually, on balance, why would I want to do that? I think I'll stay in touch. So actually just went back to where I was living and got on with things. Never been to Australia. Is it too late? So that was that affirmation, that feeling of affirmation from my preceptor at the private ordination. And then at the public ordination, the welcome into the order takes place, where all the people being ordained have the cases around their necks, the names are announced publicly, and there's a ceremony where you are welcomed into the order by your public preceptor. So we have these two ceremonies. The order members, new order members, may say a little bit more about that if they want to when the time comes. But I think the main thing I just wanted to stress is that, at least the way I look at it, it means the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, the ideal of enlightenment, the path to enlightenment, and the community of those treading that path have now become central. And you're not just trying it out, you feel confident that they are now central, right up until you die, and hopefully beyond when you die. So it's quite a big thing to do, actually, to do this. So if you're thinking of it, think again. Think it over carefully. Don't rush into doing it. It is a big thing to do. It is a big thing to do. But I've got absolutely no regrets at all about it. It has, in my case at least, it has stuck ever since 1982. It's 40 years. So I hope that gives you some idea. There are lots more things one could say. Give them a new name. I hope that they'll say something about their names. Your private preceptor will induct you into a meditation practice, which is one that is chosen for you personally with your help. You'll be no doubt joining the chapter of order members. You'll be associated with the centre, like the North London Buddhist Centre, and so on and so on. That's what it is.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's what, just think of it, that's what Mokshayogin and Akshayapradipa have done. Isn't that impressive? Over to you, Sam.
Okay, thank you very much, Reverend Prabhu. There's something just come to mind that I'd like to mention, which I've been hearing fairly recently, I think in the last couple of years, that in some sort of mysterious way, people who are effectively going for refuge, who could be order members even, are in some way representing the fourth of the four sights which the Buddha saw. I think most of you remember the story of the Buddha going out into the world and seeing old age, sickness, death, and then there was this fourth sight, which was the monk who was going about life completely differently. He wasn't completely discombobulated by the really difficult things he saw all around him. He seemed to have some sort of handle on it somehow. So I thought that was, I've been thinking about that a lot. Okay, so we're going to move now into a shortish meditation. We'll do a period of the metta bhavana practice. And 3 stages. The first stage, ourselves, just as we are now, with whatever and however we're bringing to where we are now, sitting together in the showroom in North London. Then the second stage, calling to mind Akshayapradipa and Mokshayogin. However we know them, just bearing them in mind and smiling at them. And wondering what they're going to do about that. And then the third stage.
So Santa asked me if I'd play something to help celebrate the return of these wonderful beings, and I've got a couple of poems actually set to music. One actually has been requested by Akshayapradipa, Secret Wings. And the other poem is The Four Gifts, which I think is a wonderful imagery Auntie came up with. And he wrote the poem the year that he gave this short series of 4 lectures, Buddhism for Today and Tomorrow. And the images in the 4 images, the 4 gifts, I think relate very much to each of these thoughts. Method of personal development and so forth. Vision of human experience, existence, nucleus of a new society, and a blueprint for a new world. And there's something in the middle of these images about the shepherd's round dance. So if any of you dare, if you dare, and it is actually very courageous to accept the 4 gifts. I think it's a great thing. I don't think they're sort of to be taken very seriously, I think, and joyfully. And joyfully. And I think the Shepherd's Round Dance is bringing in that element of joy very much into the spiritual life. And then Akshayapradipa is also going to in the middle of that, another of Bante's poems, I believe, called Sripada. Sripada. It so happens that when I was ordained in 78, and the public ceremony was in the grounds of Padmaloka, and Bante told this little story about Sumana or Saman guards Sripada in the mountain in Sri Lanka, and he does that. What the Buddha left behind his footprint. That's the myth, the image there. And he does that by, Bante asks, well, how does he do that? He does that by practicing the Dharma, embodying the Dharma in his life. So that's a little bit of introduction to Sripada. So, we better get on with it. So, Secret Wings, Sripada, and the 4 Gifts. And Shakya Siddhi has very kindly accepted the invitation to play together. We were camping together at Buddhafield this year, and there were quite a few musicians around, but we never actually played there, did we?
No.
And
you played.
Pardon?
You played for sure.
I played, yeah, I played. And but, well, yeah, we the first time we played was this morning, together. I don't know whether I should have said that, but I hope. Secret wing. We say the world is dark because we are blind to the starriness of things. We pluck out our rainbow tinted blue, and with their heaven-born beauty try to fledge nocturnal shafts and then complain. Alas, we cannot fly. Powers above and powers beneath, in quest of truth, men seek for aid. Stand time and fear the shadows that themselves have made. To powers above and powers beneath, in quest of truth, men seek for aid. Who stand between the light and fear, the shadows that themselves have made. Oh, cry no more that you are weak and stir your secret wing, and say the world is bright because we glimpse the starriness of things. So with your rainbow wings and breathe that near far land we're all one, where beauty's face is eye unveiled, and every star shall be a sun. Oh, cry no more that you are weak, but stir and spread your secret wing. Oh, cry no more that you are weak, but stir and spread your secret wing. Oh, cry no more that you are weak, but stir and spread your secret wing.
This is quite a different musical style. Anyway, it was a poem that featured on my ordination retreat, so I thought, I think, yeah, it's a free pattern. I saw his shining footprints gleaming in the grass like dew. The flowers where they had fallen, sweeter and fairer grew. They led into the distant hills, those hills all misty blue. I will follow, neath the spring moon clear and bright, through fields and copse and hollow, of those footprints of delight, and walk upon those distant hills, worn dawn all gold and white. This many an age of darkness, since the days my Lord did pass, leaving his dewy footprints like pearls upon the grass, and rank weeds have overgrown them, and thorns obscured, alas. Yet will I follow boldly, using the hunter's art, until one day I find him from all things else apart,
Sitting beside the pool of peace in the blue hills of my heart.
Brought back memories of going up Sripada. I went to Sri Lanka particularly to one of the things to go to Sripada where Sumanagati, the footprint of the Buddha, and we set off early evening and walked through the night. And the party there was a couple, and they weren't sort of in perfect harmony, and they weren't sure. I don't think the woman was sure about doing this walk. It's quite vigorous. So at one point I left them to sort it out and walked on through the jungle, climbing up. You try and get there at the dawn, and there can be a magical effect with the sunrise on the clouds. I didn't get there in time for that. I didn't see that. But it was wonderful going up that mountain, Sripada. And people sing songs on the full moon day. It's also known as Adam's Peak, and the Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, Christians, they all revere this mountain, but I think particularly the Buddhists. So yeah, and people sing on the way up and sing on the way down. But this is The Four Gifts, which I think is a really beautiful poem. All right.
Remind me the key again.
D minor, and it's a recitation rather than a song with musical accompaniment. In D minor and a bit of G minor. I come to you with 4 gifts. Will you accept them? My first gift is a lotus flower. Do you understand? My second gift is a golden net. Can you recognize it? La 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 My third gift is a shepherd's round dance. Do your feet know how to dance? La 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 My fourth gift a garden. Planted in a wilderness. Planted in a wilderness. Garden planted in a wilderness. Could you work there? Could you work there? I come to you with 4 gifts. Dare you accept them? Dare you accept them?
Thank you so much, Suman, Siddhi, Akshayapradipa. It's just lovely to hear your voices. So, what should we do now? Well, I think it's time to hear the voices of our new board members, Akshayapradipa and Mokshayogin. Would you like to come and find somewhere to be? You've got 40 minutes.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, you'll let us know when the time.
Would you like me to wave or something?
Yes,
after,
please. If we're
after about 35.
yeah, let's do that.
Okay, I'll be over there.
Yes. So we thought, can you see us? There is no position in which you can see both of us, I think, equally well, but hopefully you can see us somewhat.
You can change later. Yeah.
Yeah. So we thought we'd do this as a conversation in a way. Yeah. That's what we thought. So let's see how that goes. If it's terrible, you might just have to chip in with questions.
Yeah. That works, doesn't it?
How are you?
A bit stressed, but appreciative for all these attendees. Thanks everybody for coming. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
I really can't help but want to lead with the elephant in the room, the bear in the room, the
cat in the room.
The cat in the room. Thank you. Sorry. So it looks like someone else got ordained this summer. Could you say a little bit about that? Maybe it's diving in at the deep end, but it seems like it's just begging to be talked about.
Yeah. So
she's just begging to be. He's just begging to be talked.
Yeah, so we agreed we would bring it just emerged in our conversations because I think for both of us there was a sort of object we talked about. So we decided to bring an object to do with the retreat that we would bring today. And so my object is Catastrophe, who's my cuddly toy. He was given to me by my mum, and those of you who know me know that I had a very difficult relationship with my mother for a long time. So when she gave me this cuddly toy, it actually had quite a lot of meaning. And so he goes with me to places that my mum would never go, like Buddhist ordination retreats. And I think it was sort of
Well, partly when things got a bit difficult, and while it's amazing to be on retreat for 3 months, it is sometimes tricky because the environment takes away a lot of your creature comforts around, like, I mean, even with like what clothes you wear, what food you eat, and there isn't a lot of distraction. So I felt like I was relentlessly sort of like being thrown back to myself. And there was particularly a phase where one of my tendencies is nihilism. So I was particularly working with that. And we were doing a meditation practice at the time where one reflects on impermanence, which felt quite strong. And so in the end, I ended up bringing my cuddly toy into the meditation, into the shrine room. But it was also, I don't know, you're up a mountain with like 23 other, we were 23 on my retreat. And you just get to know each other really, really well. And sort of like Catastrophe became the retreat mascot in a way. So everybody sort of like knew him, and people would just include him in a way. So when it came up to the ordinations, people came up to me, were like, oh, I have an idea for a name, or could he have a kesa? And in the end, there was a woman on my retreat, Amrita Saki, she actually makes kesas, and she gave me this miniature kesa. And and then I basically went up to Punyamala, the public preceptor, and explained about the situation, and this is how this happened. And he's got a Buddhist name, but we found out later on that the Buddhist name is actually already in use, so I'm not going to say it here, but it's sort of like, anyway, that's how that happens. So you get a bit of an idea of like the quirks and the difficult bits and the joyful bits of being stuck on a mountain for such a long time. So and you brought this very intriguing and amazing looking travel shrine. Maybe you want to say a bit about that?
Well, I don't really know what to say about it. Can people sort of see it? No. It's like, basically, a friend of mine made me a shrine to the people at home, which is very beautiful, I think. And I guess in a way summarizes, it's like, these are the deities of my family, like our protector goddess, and various Jain deities. And Krishna is very popular in Gujarat, where I come from. This is like my primary deity practice, and the various teachers that I've received it from, with Vasantra, who ordained me, in the middle. My friend Shenyen is down here in the corner. He'll be here this evening, if anybody is around to come to that, and various other forms of Vajrayogini. And then over here, Abrahamic figures that are important to me. So you've got St. Francis and Ibn Arabi, and the Mother of God, she's obviously quite important. And this Our Lady of Death, she's sort of, I think she's quite popular in Mexico, actually. Yeah. That's right, yeah. So if you want to find out more about Lady of Death, I refer you to her. And so I guess for me, it was like, I had a heart, I found the retreat somewhat challenging in terms of maybe we can talk a bit about the challenges in the course of the thing, but like, people have so many different ways of expressing Buddhism and what it means and what the practice is and what it means to be an order member or whatever. But I had this, in my hut, I had this sort of always lit up to return back to, I guess a bit like coming back to my heart and my own intentions and reasons for practice, and knowing that that's always there, kind of regardless of what other experience is going on. So it's very beautiful for me in that way.
Yeah, it strikes me that both are symbols of integration, isn't it? We both were sort of like wanting to make sure that parts of ourselves and our practice are there. And,
yeah, that life isn't separate, that our past isn't necessarily separate from the process of like moving into a committed, ethical, deep life or whatever.
Yeah. So, what made you want to join a Buddhist order?
I really don't know. Honestly, I mean, and I felt like I couldn't easily say that before getting ordained. I felt like before ordination, people always wanted reasons, like, why do you want to do this? And, you know, want you to sort of explain logically in words and check whether or not that's correct or not. But now I'm ordained, I can say I have no idea. Just sort of felt like what was happening anyway. It felt like a kind of the natural next step in what it felt like the momentum of my life already was, if you know what I mean. That's like, I don't have any sort of really good answers, or if I do, then they change kind of daily or depending on my mood or whatever. That's my answer in this moment, in this mood. What about you?
Before we come to it, I think when we when we had a chat on the phone, you said something about that you think this order will be a very good context to practice. So maybe you could say something about that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That sounds like a good reason to join. So I think this order will be a very good context to practice. Actually, really think that there are. I guess you have to, maybe if you have an intuition that it's possible to live life more deeply, you have to find ways of doing that work for you. And even though I think probably all structures are probably imperfect in some way, you have to find ones that like will work well enough or are good enough or will fit enough. And I think that the order I feel like it could really be that for me. So I think there's like really excellent teachers, really excellent contexts for getting on like long retreat, really experienced people who know about all different aspects of Dharma, but also have just like lived life very fully and have experimented with lots of things. So there's lots of like wisdom and richness to kind of draw from, you know, many thousands of people who are trying to do something similar. And that's kind of what I'm hoping. But of course, I'm only 2 weeks back, so I don't know what the reality is. But I feel like, and especially with my preceptor, Vasantra, who is for me, very impressive man, very impressive teacher. I feel in very good hands in terms of my personal practice or understanding of what the hell's going on or whatever. Yeah. And yourself, Akshayapradipa, what would make you join a Buddhist order?
Yeah, I mean, friends asked me this just before I went off on retreat, and it's really non-Buddhist friends, and it's really difficult to explain it in sort of like rational way that makes sense. But I think there is something about I became a Buddhist when I was 15, so I've been a Buddhist for most of the majority of my life, and it was sort of like because I could see suffering around me, and for a long time I didn't know what it would actually mean to be a Buddhist, how to effectively practice. And so I had to do a bit of try and error to sort of like find a Buddhist group that where I felt like I could do the practice basically. So I guess going into a Triratna center in Essen at the time and being taught the Metta Bhavana and meeting an order member called Lai Triratna, I think for me really made a big change. There was a meditation practice that I could do and that really had an impact. Before I had sort of like tried to do Tibetan visualization, but I couldn't really get on with it. Now I love it, but at the time I had no context for it. And yeah, I think I also just had the feeling of sort of like meeting people where I sort of like thought if I would become a bit more like them, then that's a good direction to go into. And these were order members. And so, yes, I think that's sort of like what made me pursue. And I think in the end, what happened was I was on a retreat and in meditation, this sort of sentence dropped in, like you could just ask for ordination. And when something like this comes up in my meditation, I usually take it really seriously because I tend to think that I'm probably in a clearer state of consciousness in meditation than in my everyday life. And so, yeah, I think, yeah, and then one thing led to the next. And yeah, I think fundamentally, I think that's the best thing I can do with my life in a sort of, yeah, I think that's my intuition basically. Yeah.
I'm having fun. This is good, isn't it? I reckon the time will probably get away from us. So
we should talk about our names.
I think we should talk about our names. Yeah. So let's talk about whose name should I talk about my name?
Yes.
Should I talk about my name? So my name is Mokshayogin. Moksha means liberation or freedom. Yogin is someone who does a yoga, someone who practices, a practitioner, someone with a discipline. That's what Vasandra said. And in the private ordination, so you have like this sort of ceremony where it's just you and your private preceptor, and they tell you, there's different parts of it, and they tell you your name, and they give you a mantra of a deity and stuff. And he told me my name, Mokshayogin, and he said something about, he said someone who practices, I forget exactly what he said, but something about somebody with a discipline and somebody who practices for liberation, So that's, that's what you're going to do now, you're going to practice for liberation. And he must have, there must have been a look of fear in my eyes because he looked at me and he said, "Don't worry." He said, "Don't worry, it can still be fun." And it must have been like, I don't know, bead of sweat forming on my brow. But I think it is. It feels like a really beautiful name. I'm really happy with it. And I think it's very challenging for me because I tend to have a good time messing around on the edge of practice. And that's probably been the majority of my Buddhist life. And for someone who knows you really well, someone who knows me really well, who I actually believe has sort of depth of like realization, to have that kind of confidence and also a certain, to believe that kind of confidence in me, to name me that and say like, this is what you've got to do now, was kind of daunting. I did spend a week sort of wandering around, just sort of shaking my head, thinking, what have I done? Yeah, it's been a few months now, and I'm getting on board with it. I think, yeah. Apparently, you can just relax yourself out of delusion. So I'm going to try that. What about yourself, Akshayapradipa?
Yeah, so Akshayapradipa means she was an inexhaustible lamp. And when I was given that name by my preceptor Karanadi, I sort of heard Akshaya something, she was an inexhaustible lamp, and Akshaya sounded good. And I have something about this I really love this symbolism of the lamp. It really speaks to me, and also for a long time. Somebody actually reminded me yesterday that I used to, for a while, sign my emails with light. And there is one of my favorite stories has to do with bringing light into dark places. And yeah, so it really, when she said it, it really made sense to me, absolutely. I would have never guessed that something like this would be my name, but when she said it, it made complete sense to me. And then only later on, I sort of remembered that that the other thing that she had said that is that it's quite linked to the Bodhisattva ideal. So this idea of a practitioner who will practice until everyone is liberated, basically, and that there is, it appears in a Buddhist scripture, and then a spooky thing happened, which is that between the private ordination, where it's only you and your preceptor, you know the name, and the public ordination, we did a ritual, and the reading about the inexhaustible lamp was read. And it was really spooky. So somebody started to do this reading of like, just as a lamp can light many other hundreds of thousands of lamps without itself being diminished, so a single bodhisattva can establish many other hundreds of thousands of beings in enlightenment without himself being diminished. And that's the slightly daunting part of the name, slightly. But I think what Kennedy did there, I think, is also, I think I have, I think from quite young, I've been very aware of like injustice, partly because the way I grew up, but also other reasons. And I think in my life, in my work, and also in my activism, I've sort of like tried to do something. But how I'm doing things has sort of like changed over time. And I think she wanted to acknowledge this altruistic dimension, but also the place it's coming from. So that does feel very precious. Yeah. Yeah.
Can I share my spooky thing? Can I share a spooky thing?
Oh, yes,
I forgot about spooky things. Many spooky things happened. One spooky thing, name-related spooky thing, is that for months before my ordination, I started to have this imaginal character appearing in my meditations and in my mind, who was called the Yogin, which I thought was an interesting feature. And he was there and called the Yogin for many months, long before I knew my name. So spooky but not daunting. Yours is spooky but daunting.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but would be interested to hear it was for you. But I think for me, among all the like difficulty of some of the practical aspects of being in a retreat center and all of that, I think I did manage to go into like a mythical realm for some time, and some of these spooky things happened, and some of them were actually really, really, really affirming, particularly for me as somebody who can be quite nihilistic. I think I really sort of like started to reassess my sort of views about like, is the universe alive and where is consciousness and all those sorts of things. So I'd be interested, were you able to tune into something like that while you were there?
Sort of, yeah. Well, maybe. I want to ask you if you could share your top spooky thing, if it's audience friendly, if it's not too wacky, or well, I mean, too wacky is fine, but whatever you're comfortable with, and then I could talk a bit about whatever that dimension.
Yeah, I think some of it is Padmasambhava related. So Padmasambhava is the sort of Buddha that I took as my Buddha that I'm going to meditate on daily and generally establish a connection with. And Yeah, I think before the ordination, we did a Padmasambhava puja, and I had this very strong sense that if I will live my life in Padmasambhava's company, then that will be a life well lived. And then after the ordination, I really wanted to do like pujas and chanting, but everybody has different sort of different yidam. So I had to go leave the retreat center and go up a mountain to do puja. And one time I was doing that, and I was just running a bit late, rushing back, and I found this massive vulture feather just on the way down from where I had done the puja, and that definitely felt like Padmasambhava's here. He's got the vulture feather, and yeah, there were just small things like that where I just felt like, oh, actually, I don't know, the universe is collaborating in this in a way. Yeah, yeah.
He's for people who don't know, he's over there with the vulture feather.
Yes, that's
in the
true.
middle.
Yeah, so stuff, small things, but yeah, or just like sense of like presence in the shrine room and during the private ordination, where I just felt like, yeah, there was definitely something happening. Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah, I had similar universe collaboration feelings. I was given the mantra of a deity called Vajrayogini, like a kind of goddess, tantric goddess figure, and basically my ordination happened on what is Dakini Day in the Tibetan calendar, which the organizers wouldn't have known, didn't know. And I was with Vasantra, who has been doing this practice since the late 80s, and he was telling me his life story. We spent a week together and we were chatting about things, and he did like long 6-week retreats counting hundreds of thousands of mantras of this deity back in the late 80s, early 90s or whatever. And I was saying, well, where did you do that? And he said, well, I did it here at Guhyaloka actually. And I was like, oh wow, where? And he's like, well, here actually, where we're staying in Darsendo. So in the solitary facility where we were both staying for a week and hanging out together, that was the very place where he had done all this practice, connected with the deity that was going to be the focus of my practice from now on, whatever. So bit of spooky universal collaboration. I was already recovering from the yogin thing, I think, before that. So, yeah.
How are we doing for time? Is it like half an hour or something?
You're just coming up to half an hour. You've a few more minutes if you'd like to, or if you feel as though that's it, that's fine. But if there's anything on the tip of your tongues, now's your moment.
I feel like we've done quite well.
Yeah, I mean, we could open it up to questions.
Should we open it up?
Shall we be brave?
Yeah.
Okay.
Give us your worst.
No, your best.
Just curious on Mokshayogin. So before you ordained, you had this yogin part of experience. So did you tell your preceptor?
No.
Okay.
Didn't tell anyone. Told one person that was like meditating with, but no, it's not known. And it's an unusual name in the order as well. Yeah. It's like a very uncommon suffix.
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
You said you found it challenging. What was it about the experience that was so challenging?
Well, there's the practical thing. Maybe we could talk a little bit about the challenges. I could ask you about the challenges after I've stated my challenges. There's a sort of practical thing, which is just like, it's quite, I don't know what Akshayapradipa is like, but Guhyaloka is like, it's very hot. You're in a hut I was in a hut that was like a storage heater. It was like attracting and storing the heat all day, and then it's kind of like, it's dry, it's hot, there are like mosquitoes everywhere, they absolutely love me, and all that sort of daily choice about like, I really need to go, you know, to the toilet, and I know that I'm going to get bit on my ass many times when I go, and it's just a very undignified position to be in on a daily basis, I think. Plus, in addition to that, you know, like people have different tastes when it comes to sort of Dharma input, don't they? So you're never going to get, you know, things are going to work for some people and that they're not going to work for others. And for me, it like was really far from my tastes in terms of like the input and the teaching and the kind of thing. But the order is very broad and diverse, and I'll find many things that I do enjoy, I'm sure. Yeah, so that's my summary. What about you, Akshayapradipa?
Yeah, I mean, many of the things that you sort of like listed, I hadn't quite, I think I was more worried about the mosquitoes when I was sort of like sitting out my tent at before it got dark. But anyway, yeah, so there are all the practicalities. I think not being in control of food was quite difficult for me because I just have a difficult relation, or like had over my life difficult relationship with food. Yeah, and there is nowhere to go. I mean, you're just there basically. There is nowhere to go, and no distraction. And if you have a bit of a ding dong with somebody, you need to sort it out immediately. Like there is no running away from that. So it's relentless in that sort of way. And we had a COVID outbreak at the beginning, and it was I realized that because then I didn't get COVID, but then there was quite a lot to do for us who didn't have COVID, and I realized 2 weeks into the retreat that I haven't had like a single nap or anything. Usually at the beginning of the retreat I would just rest a bit. But luckily I brought a hammock, and I then put up my hammock and just started to like chill a bit as people were getting better. So yeah, I think there are these challenges, and I think for me, particularly before the private ordination, it really brought up a lot of my conditioning around like, don't believe in anything, it's just not worth believing in anything, and need to have a good job, yada yada yada. And as well as being scared I would be forgotten, my preceptor would forget to ordain me, which is bonkers. It's a sort of crazy thing, I don't know, I can sometimes get into on retreats, like small things. And yeah, I guess sort of like some last down to like maybe I'm not good enough or whatever. Yeah, so it was all that sort of stuff was there.
I want to ask you one last question, actually, if that's, unless anybody's got anything burning. Olivia?
Not burning.
It might be better than mine, go on.
I was curious for both of you, and this is a broad question, so you can interpret it any way you'd like to. What were some of your what was your favorite thing about the retreat?
Shall I go? So for me, spending the time with Vasantra really gave me a taste. I was just really sort of not grilling him, but I was asking him about basically how like realization is possible and what it could mean and what it could really be like. And I came away with confidence and a bit more of a map, or a bit more of an idea of what it could look like for me, and that feels like invaluable. I mean, whether or not I actually managed to traverse the terrain, I've got a map, a bit more of a map. And then the other thing for me was I was sharing a hut with this guy, Amaya Raja. I just wanted to sort of make a plug, like if people are into doing like really nice things, I would love for as many people as possible to send Amaya Raja cards saying welcome to the order and thank you for looking after Mokshayogin. I'm sure he'll be delighted. He lives in like rural Ayrshire, west coast of Scotland. But I just felt like that was like love. It was like real deep love, and all the hard times I was having, like he really looked after me. He really looked after me, and we in our little hut we shared poetry and stories, and it was like a beautiful little thing all on its own, and very healing and very necessary for me. I don't know what I would have done without him. So they're my highlights. What
Yeah, I was on retreat with Chandraji, his partner. Yeah, who's also like a really amazing person. I think one of my favorite things about the retreat was I didn't know which day it was or what, and there was just a phase where it just felt like one day after the next, like nothing spectacular happened, but the days were sort of complete and beautiful. Like we were in a beautiful environment with people that at that stage I think I already really I didn't know anyone really well before I went on the retreat, but at that stage I already really loved them. And yeah, just sort of like the meditation and everything, there was just something about entering a timeless realm, which I think for me was a really unique experience, which was very beautiful. And I think I remember I thought more than once, like this was a really happy day, and if I die tomorrow, that would be fine. And yeah, and I think in the 6 element practice, which is one of the practices I think you particularly do on this on the ordination retreats and then on, I just had some experiences that really gave me confidence around like what's possible. And yeah, and finally also when the preceptors arrived, I remember my friend Kamala just standing there crying as her preceptor arrived, and one of her favorite moments was when I was standing there crying as my preceptor arrived. And there was just an atmosphere of love, because that was really the only reason why all these women came to Adenos. And I think that's really what struck with me, like they came because of love. The team did it, like they gave us 3 months of their lives because of love. Like the retreat center is there because somebody generously offers to live there in the middle of nowhere under tough conditions. So yeah, I think that's something, yeah, all these things sort of were my favorite things in a way.
Amazing, yeah. Yeah. Similarly for Kuhiloka, I mean, people live out in the middle of nowhere and maintain this place, and all the preceptors, yeah, just I remember sitting with the center and being like, so you had to pay for your own plane ticket? And he's like, yeah, they wouldn't let me on without it, It's just sort of this sense of like, oh yeah, these people are just doing it all because they care. There's not much like structure to support it, they're just doing it.
Maybe that's a good point to end on.
Thank you very, very much. Please stay where you are for a moment.
Okay.
Please keep staying where you are for a moment. There's a little something that we have for each of you, which Akshayapradipa and Kirinanda are going to fetch from the library. So if Lalitaraj will kindly open the door to the library.
What do you think comes out of the library? Book, yeah.
Disinteresting.
Yeah. I probably need to read it. Thank you.
And please just stay there for the next couple of minutes. So while we're on the theme of love and generosity, I'd like to just say a couple of words for which I need a hat.
It's getting a bit lucky, that's a
compliment. Yes, love and generosity for. Should I be? Okay. Oops. Is that okay? Okay, so we're on the theme of love and generosity, symbolised by what we're doing today, our wonderful Sangha and our wonderful Buddhist centre. We have a fantastic centre team who give with love and generosity. We have a fantastic council behind the centre team who give with love and generosity, and a fabulous Sangha. We rely a lot on volunteers. A lot of people just give with love and generosity, but there are one or two things that we just need cash for. And a lot of people already give generously with love regularly, or when they come along to the centre. So that's really what I'm inviting you to do today. If you have a standing order, fabulous. If you might just up it a little bit, that would be fantastic. If your thing is more just giving a little bit as and when, which is often what I do, and I get a real positive, open-hearted, warm-hearted response immediately from doing that. If that's what you would like to do, then please just pass by the reception desk downstairs at some point when you're in the building, and that will be enormously appreciated and very, very well used. So we're going to have a short break now, maybe 3 or 4 minutes, and then we're going to come back and we'll have a puja, which is going to be led by Lalita Raja. So 4 minutes.
Power. So I just want to direct your attention to Sattva for a moment.
Thank you. And before the puja, just a personal thank you all very, very much for being here. And if a couple of people who just not sure immediately after the puja, a little bit of just some description.
Don't forget that the evening part of the celebrations begins at 6:30. And so everyone's welcome to come up there as well.
It's going to be wicked.
Good. Okay, we're going to do a celebratory sevenfold puja. We'll have the Avalokiteshvara mantra, which Harivasan will lead. Just we're okay for time, but maybe come with a friend or friends to make offerings.
Don't burn my triptych.
And don't burn the triptych. Yeah, I want to move it back. And it's okay to make offerings to the other. That's a joke. What else do I need to say? So there'll be a reading after the Going for Refuge section. There'll be another reading after the Entreaty and Supplication section, and there'll be a Padmasambhava mantra, which oh God, I nearly did it. And now I've completely forgotten everything. Akshayapradipa will lead. I don't think I've forgotten anything else. Let's sit quietly for a minute or two. a minute or two to contemplate that great question that came up in the conversation, sort of, why are you doing this? Sevenfold puja. Firstly, worship. With Mandarava, blue lotus, and jasmine.
With Mandarava, blue lotus, and jasmine.
With all flowers pleasing and fragrant.
With all flowers pleasing and fragrant.
And with garlands skillfully woven.
And with garlands skillfully woven.
I pay honor to the princes of the sages.
I pay honor to the princes of the sages.
So worthy of veneration.
So worthy of veneration.
I envelop them in clouds of incense.
I envelop them in clouds of incense.
Sweet and penetrating.
Sweet and penetrating.
I make them offerings of food, hard and soft.
I make them offerings of food, hard and soft.
And pleasing kinds of liquids to drink.
And pleasing kinds of liquids to drink.
I offer them lamps encrusted with jewels.
I offer them lamps encrusted with jewels.
Festooned with golden lotus.
Festooned with golden lotus.
On the paving sprinkled with perfume.
On the paving sprinkled with perfume.
I scatter handfuls of beautiful flowers.
I scatter handfuls of beautiful flowers.
Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum.
Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Padme Hum. Om Mani 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 Padme Hum. Om Padme Hum. Om Mani 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 Padme Hum. Salutation. As many atoms as there are,
As many atoms as there are,
in the 1,000,000,000 worlds,
in the 1,000,000,000 worlds,
so many times I make reverent salutation
so many times I make reverent salutation
to all the Buddhas of the 3 eras,
to all the Buddhas of the 3 eras,
to the Saddharma,
to the Siddharma,
and to the excellent community.
and to the excellent community.
I pay homage to all the shrines
I pay homage to all the shrines
and places in which the Bodhisattvas have been.
and places in which the Bodhisattvas have been.
I make profound obeisance to the teachers
I make profound obeisance to the teachers
and those to whom respectful salutation is due.
and those to whom respectful salutation is due.
Going for refuge. This very day, I go for my refuge.
I go for my refuge
To the powerful protectors,
to the powerful protectors
whose purpose is to guard the universe.
whose purpose is to guard the universe.
The mighty conquerors who overcome suffering everywhere.
The mighty conquerors who overcome suffering everywhere.
Wholeheartedly also I take my refuge.
Wholeheartedly also I take my refuge.
In the Dharma they have ascertained,
In the Dharma they have ascertained,
which is the abode of security against the rounds of rebirth.
which is the abode of security against the rounds of rebirth.
Likewise in the host of Bodhisattvas,
Likewise in the host of Bodhisattvas,
I take my refuge.
I take my refuge.
why I am a Buddhist. Some people say that Buddhism is just an Eastern religion. This is what some Christians in the West say. They say that because Buddhism is an Eastern religion, it cannot be understood and practiced by people in the West. Such Christians forget that Christianity itself is of Eastern origin. But Buddhism is, in fact, not an Eastern religion, it's a universal religion. Even though Buddhism originated in India, it spread over the whole earth. Buddhism can be understood and practiced anywhere in the world because Buddhism addresses itself to the individual human being, regardless of race, nationality, caste, sex, or age. Buddhism is therefore the religion of humanity. This is one of the reasons why I'm a Buddhist. I believe that humanity is basically one. I believe that it's possible for any human being to communicate with any other human being, to feel for any other human being, to be friends with any other human being. This is what I truly and deeply believe. This belief is part of my own experience. It is part of my own life. It is part of me. I cannot live without this belief, and I would rather die than live without. To me, to live means to practice this belief. Therefore, this belief is part of my religion. It has nothing to do with the way in which I dress, nothing to do with what I call myself. It is a matter of the way I am, the way I exist. It is the way I naturally function in the world. This is what religion really is. It is what you most truly and deeply believe. It is what you are prepared to live for. It is your life. It is what makes you who you are. It is what makes you behave in the way that you do. Religion is therefore very important. In fact, it is the most important.
Namo tassa.
Namo tassa.
Bhagavato arahato.
Bhagavato arahato.
Samma sambuddhassa.
Samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa.
Namo tassa.
Bhagavato arahato.
Bhagavato arahato.
Samma sambuddhassa.
Samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa.
Namo tassa.
Bhagavato arahato.
Bhagavato arahato.
Samma sambuddhassa.
Samma sambuddhassa.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Anatipata.
Anatipata.
Veramani. Sikkhapadang. Samadhiyami. Adinadana. Veramani. Sikkhapadang. Samadhiyami. Kamesu.
Michachara,
Veramani, Sikapadang, Samadhyami, Musavada, Veramani, Sikapadang, Samadhyami, Suramerya, Macha, Hammadatana, Veramani, Sikapadang, Samadhyami, Sadhu, 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 with deeds of loving kindness, I purify my body. With open-handed generosity, I purify my body. With stillness, simplicity, and contentment, I purify my body. With truthful communication, I purify my speech. With mindfulness clear and radiant, I purify my mind. Confession of faults. The evil that I have heaped up through my ignorance and foolishness, evil in the world of everyday experience, as well as evil in understanding and intelligence, all that I acknowledge to the protectors, standing before them, with hands raised in reverence, and terrified of suffering, I pay salutations again and again. May the leaders receive this kindly, just as it is with its many faults. What is not good, O protectors, I shall not do again. Rejoicing in merit. I rejoice with delight in the good done by all beings, through which they obtain rest, with the end of suffering. May those who have suffered be happy. I rejoice in the release of beings from the sufferings of the rounds of existence. I rejoice in the nature of the Bodhisattva and the Buddha, who are protectors. I rejoice in the arising of the will to enlightenment. And the teaching. Those oceans that bring happiness to all beings. And are the abode of welfare of all beings. entreaty and supplication, saluting them with folded hands.
Saluting them with folded hands.
I entreat the Buddhas in all the quarters.
I entreat the Buddhas in all the quarters.
May they make shine the lamp of the Dharma.
May they make shine the lamp of the Dharma.
For those wandering in the suffering of delusion.
For those wandering in the suffering of delusion.
With hands folded in reverence.
With hands folded in reverence.
I implore the conquerors desiring to enter nirvana.
I implore the conquerors desiring to enter nirvana.
May they remain here for endless ages.
May they remain here for endless ages.
So that life in this world does not grow dark.
So that life in this world does not grow dark.
Now, when you are introduced to your own intrinsic awareness, the method for entering into it involves 3 considerations. Thoughts in the past are clear and empty and leave no traces behind. Thoughts in the future are fresh and unconditioned by anything. And in the present moment, when your mind remains in its own condition without constructing anything, awareness at that moment in itself is quite ordinary. And when you look into yourself in this way nakedly, without any discursive thoughts, since there is only this pure observing, there will be found a lucid clarity without anyone being there who is the observer. Only a naked, manifest awareness is present. This awareness is empty and immaculately pure, not being created by anything whatsoever. It is authentic and unadulterated, without duality of clarity and emptiness. It is not permanent, and yet it is not created by anything. However, it is not mere nothingness or something annihilated, because it is lucid and present. It does not exist as a single entity, because it is present and clear in terms of being many. On the other hand, it is not created as a multiplicity of things, because it is inseparable and of a single flavour. This inherent self-awareness does not derive from anything outside itself. This is the real introduction to the actual condition of things. When you are introduced in this way, through this exceedingly powerful method for entering into the practice, you discover directly that your own immediate self-awareness is just this and nothing else, and that it has an inherent self-clarity which is entirely unfabricated. How can you then speak of not understanding the nature of mind? Moreover, since you are meditating without finding anything there to meditate upon, how can you say that your meditation does not go well? Since your own manifest intrinsic awareness is just this, how can you say you cannot find your own mind? The mind is just that which is thinking. And yet, although you have searched for the thinker, how can you say that you cannot find him or her? With respect to this, nowhere does there exist the one who is the cause of mental activity. And yet, since activity exists, how can you say that such activity does not arise? Since merely allowing thought to settle into its own condition without trying to modify it in any way is sufficient, how can you say that you are not able to remain in a calm state? since allowing thoughts to be just as they are, without trying to do anything about them, is sufficient, how can you say that you are not able to do anything with regard to them? Since clarity, awareness, and emptiness are inseparable and are spontaneously self-perfected, how can you say that nothing is accomplished by your practice? Since intrinsic awareness is self-originated and spontaneously self-perfected without any antecedent causes or conditions, how can you say that you are not able to accomplish anything by your efforts? Since the arising of discursive thoughts and their being liberated occur simultaneously, how can you say you are unable to apply an antidote? Since your own immediate awareness is just this, how can you say that you do not know anything with regard to it?
The Heart Sutra. The Bodhisattva of compassion, when he meditated deeply, saw the emptiness of all five skandhas and sundered the bonds that caused him suffering. Here then, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Form is only emptiness, emptiness only form. Feeling, thought, and choice, consciousness itself, are the same as this. All things are by nature void. They are not born or destroyed, nor are they stained or pure, nor do they wax or wane. So, in emptiness, no form, no feeling, thought, or choice, nor is there consciousness. No eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, no color, sound, smell, taste, touch, or what the mind takes hold of, nor even act of sensing. No ignorance or end of it, nor all that comes of ignorance. No withering, no death, no end of them. Nor is there pain or cause of pain, or ceasing pain, or noble path to lead from pain, not even wisdom to attain. Attainment too is emptiness. So know that the Bodhisattva, holding to nothing whatever, but dwelling in prajna wisdom, is freed of delusive hindrance, rid of the fear bred by it, and reaches clearest nirvana. All Buddhas of past and present, Buddhas of future time, using this prajna wisdom, come to full and perfect vision. Hear then the great Dharani, the radiant, peerless mantra, the prajna paramita, whose words allay all pain. Hear and believe its truth. Ate gate parakate, parasangate bodhiswaha. Gate parakate, parasangate bodhiswaha. Gate parakate, parasangate bodhiswaha. transference of merit and self-surrender. May the merit gained in my acting thus go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings. My personality throughout my existences, my possessions, and my merit in all three ways. I give up without regard to myself. For the benefit of all beings. Just as the earth and other elements are serviceable in many ways to the infinite number of beings inhabiting limitless space. So may I become that which maintains all beings, situated throughout space, so long as all have not attained to peace.
Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om. Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om. Om
Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om. Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om. Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om. Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om. Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om. Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om. Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om. Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om. Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om. Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om. Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om. Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om. Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om. Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om. Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om. Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om. Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om. Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om. Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om. Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om. Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om. Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om. Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om. Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om. Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om. Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om. Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om. Ahum Vajraguru Padma Siddhi Om. Om 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 Mani Padme Hum.
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 Om Marapachanadhi.
Om Marapachanadhi.
Om Marapachanadhi.
Om Marapachanadhi.
Om Marapachanadhi.
Om Marapachanadhi.
Om Vajrapani Hum.
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 Om Tare Ture Swaha.
Om Tare Swaha.
Om Tare Ture Swaha.
Om Tare Swaha.
Om Tare Ture Swaha.
Om Tare Swaha.
Om Amideva Hri.
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 Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha.
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 Om Ahum Vajraguru Padma Siddhi Om.
Om Ahum Vajraguru Padma Siddhi Om.
Om Ahum Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om.
Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om.
Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om.
Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om.
Gate Gate Pada Gate Pada Samgate Bodhi Swaha.
Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhi Swaha.
Gate Gate Pada Gate Pada Sangate Bodhi Swaha.
Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhi Swaha.
Gate Gate Pada Gate Pada Sangate Bodhi Swaha.
Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhi Swaha.
Om Shanti